What's up, everybody? This is Phil Rogacki.
And I'm Jared Abergina.
You're listening to Two Tree Guys Podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Two Tree Guys. Today, we got some special guests. Unfortunately, today, I don't have my main man, Phil Rogacki. He's gone, so we had to fill his seat with three special guests today. So, unfortunately, you guys don't have the hype man. You guys have just me, blah, Jared Abergina here, taking over the scene for this podcast. But really, really excited for these three guests. It's awesome that we were able to get you guys here in the same room. We've been talking about doing this and bringing you guys out here one at a time to do a podcast, but, it's taken forever, so why not knock it out all at once? So before we dive into this, I just want to, reiterate every time, what this is about, what we're trying to do. This is wide open, free-for-all podcast. We could talk about whatever we want, no holds bar, so you guys don't be shy where we're going with this. I know you guys have reputations to hold, so I know you guys won't get too far out of hand. But, this show, the only thing, there's no fee for this. All we ask you guys is your payment is pay it forward and share, and help get the word out, because we got some cool new topics coming down the pipeline, not just telling your story like we're doing today, getting to know individuals from around the world, but, we have our safety talks and we have our gear talks, and we have a lot more informational gear awareness and safety that we want to bring to the table with this podcast. So sky's the limit. We just got to get people in it. We got to breathe into it and kind of share what we have. So, yeah. So to start every podcast, once again, before I do our introduction, is, we have a beer of the week. So our beer of the week today is Crooked Goat. You guys can see here, we got the big 32 ounces, no messing around. These guys have already put 4 down each today.
Can I get another bigger? Can you got a bigger one? You guys got a bigger one?
Yeah.
Is it kind of going down too quick?
Mark's hands make these look like little 6 ounces, so But anyway,
It tastes so good once it hits your lips. It just tastes so good.
Thank you, Crooked Goat, out here for brewing such great beer and enabling us to go down there and buy it as a sponsor for our show. So technically, we don't have sponsors, right? But we like to make fun and joke about it, how we have a sponsored beer every week. So anyhow, quick introduction. Super honored to have you three here together. We got Mr. Robert Phillips sitting next to me. We got Brian Noyes over here in the corner, traveling from New England, and everybody knows Mr. Mark Chisholm here.
Pickles.
Mr. Pickle Lover. You guys, that's an inside joke. It's a cat.
It's still
Don't jump to conclusions.
there's a catch.
Don't jump to conclusions.
There's Mark. There's Brian. If you guys don't know him, there's Mr. Phillips himself.
My man, Robert.
Yo, bro.
We need to get trying to get our Wi-Fi.
Okay. Why is that? Not coming? It's freezing up?
Yeah.
You guys, am I freezing up? Jesus.
All right, we'll work on this this Wi-Fi issue here.
Because you're spinning it around.
Maybe I was spinning it around. It was busting up. Keep an eye on that for me.
All right, so kick this off. I mean, gosh, you guys, I didn't know where to start. This can go for 4 hours here.
No doubt.
Talking with each one of you, but I think this is just more kind of what are you guys up to right now? What are you guys doing? Why are you here? We'll have some fun from there.
Well, I mean, I think we all wanted to come here to do this when we started talking about coming to this area. We're like, we got to stop by and see Jared, see Academy, see Phil. Sorry, Phil, you're not here. See everybody else here, Kendall. But we came to Santa Rosa this time because we're doing a pruning tour with Dr. Ed Gilman and Brian Kemp for the Western Chapter ISA. So we started in San Diego on Monday. We did a workshop there. It was great. Thanks to everyone that came out. We did a workshop yesterday in LA. Drove to Santa Rosa last night. We're doing one here tomorrow, and then we're going to Sacramento on Friday, and then it's back home from there. But it's been a big honor. A lot of fun. I never worked with Ed Gilman before this workshop or Brian Kemp. I've known them for years. In fact, Robert Phillips and I did something for him a long time ago. I forget which year. Maybe Robert remembers. We went to Visalia.
A while back.
It was a long time ago. Anyway, I would see Ed Gilman. We would cross paths at like the European Congress and ISA annual conference and Expo, and we'd always like really talk about like it would be cool to work together. And the concept was like he does all the research, as you know, for pruning and writes great books about it and all the stuff that he did. And he's like, I'd like to do a workshop where we can actually talk about what we want to do, and then show people how to actually do it and teach them how to get out to where we need to work. Because a lot of his work is working on the ends of the branches, which I think we all know is the best place to go in a lot of areas. So that's how that came to be. But I jump on every opportunity I can to come to California because I got so many great friends here. You know this, Jared, you and your family.
Yeah.
Robert knows this. Every time I come, I got to swing up here and say hi to him as well. So, and Brian always loves coming here too. We've had a history. I mean, shoot, we've all been really close friends for a long time. I can't even remember like when we all met, to be honest with you. I can say Brian and I met when he started working with me back in New Jersey in 97, 98.
Well, we met when I
that's
beat
when
you
really-
in the throw line in 97.
So
Wait a minute.
did competition bring you guys together? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
It's actually the first time we met.
And
You
that
got
was
any-
in
you
New
got any
England.
boxing gloves, Jared? This is going to get dirty real quick.
Pickleball.
That was in New England, right?
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah,
okay.
New Jersey Championship. That's true. That's where we met, but we became friends, I should say.
Shortly after.
Probably 97,
98.
98.
Yep.
Yeah.
98, 99, 2000. We worked together.
Yeah. Then we started doing trainings together. He and I started doing workshops overseas a lot. I mean, we've been Norway a bunch of times, Italy over a dozen. I don't know how many times, but we all the hands-on workshops we do. I mean, you know it. Who you teach with has to align with how you teach and what you believe in.
You're like, shut
And-
up. Just listen, watch, follow me.
like, no, what are you doing, idiot? No, you can't have that. You got to agree. You don't want someone disagreeing with you. But I can't do workshops and teach with people who I don't buy into their approach or their even their background per se, or their abilities for what they're teaching. I can't do that. So when I get these opportunities, we jump in together. Robert and I jump in together. Brian jumps in together with me. I mean, that's really what I've always been about. Whenever I teach, it's got to be authentic and genuine. You know what I mean? I'm not here to teach people or show people things for any other reason, but I think it can help them, and it's what I use to help myself.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. 90, 98, 97, 98?
Yeah. And Robert,
Okay.
I've known him since before that. I think
92.
92
92.
for sure. I watched him compete, and I think that's where this guy blew my mind. It was my second world championship that I ever went to, and I was like a young guy. You know that feeling. I felt so insecure in my abilities because I'm watching guys that have gear I've never seen before, use gear. I saw Rip Tompkins pull out to handle the sender. That's a whole nother story. But then I watched this guy do the aerial rescue. And what he did was, to me, was like a whole different, it blew my mind. Like the aerial rescue event, you typically go, get up into the tree, get to the victim, package him up somehow, and bring him to the ground, right? With you, and you control and you do all the other stuff, tend to him, right?
I was there for this one. I know where you're going.
Robert climbs a tree, does something, hits the ground, and I'm like, he didn't get called out. Did he get disqualified? And I see him like taking his like gear off, and the next thing I know, he's lowering the guy from the ground.
Yep.
Like a one-man like crew. And I was like, that looks so smooth and controlled. He's tending the guy's tail to pull him around away from the tree and branches, and he's lowering off a figure eight on the ground. And I was like, wow, he just won it in my event.
Yeah.
In my mind. I was like, if I was that judge, he won. I mean, I don't know where you placed, Robert. I know whatever, but you remember that day?
You sure that wasn't 93 in North Dakota?
That might have been. At my age, I kind of miss years up a lot. That's what happens.
I watched you once do that too, and that may have been in Santa Barbara.
I know we did it. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how many times you did it, but I remember watching one of them. And if it wasn't I remember Oakland because I was a little kid. I wasn't competing at the time. I was just watching. But Santa Barbara was at the age where I was able to compete. Yeah.
Oh, I thought 95.
Yeah. I think that could have been it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the,
Says history is deep, but yeah, we definitely met probably, if not in Philadelphia in 91.
92 in Oakland.
Okay.
We had a throw off.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Robert Phillips kicked my ass in a throw line competition. We tied, and he schooled me.
So how did that?
You schooled me. That's no joke. You can't lie. There's no joke. You schooled me.
So how did that happen between you guys? For you and Robert, like what happened when you were competing to make you guys become friends, or, what did you see in Robert that was like, oh man, that's cool? Or
It wasn't that year.
what?
Friendship came later.
Yeah, the friendships develop, but I think for me, he was just such an outgoing, friendly, genuine guy who wanted to help people, and he would show you stuff. If you came up to him with a question, be like, hey, what kind of throw line are you using, or why'd you do that? And he, even when he beat me, we're joking, but he beat me in the throw line throw off because we tied for points, and then it was like, all right, now you got to do a throw off. I didn't know the rules really. He knew the rules. My mistake, and he actually showed me you can manipulate the throw line we used to throw into square picture frames, not into an actual union of a tree. So it was like it's hanging between 4 ropes, and you have to hit this picture frame. And I went right over it, and I was like, "Dang, I missed it!" And I pull out, and you get 3 throws. Was it?
Yeah, 3.
So who came up with that?
And I missed
The frames.
I have no idea. It was before I started.
Western chapter.
Yeah, it's probably from back in the very first time. But Robert comes up, and he does exactly what I do, and he goes over the picture frame, and I was like, "Oh, he missed it too." And then he pulls it up, whips it through, drops it down, and isolates it. And next thing you know, he gets the points. I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah. I could have did that too, and we could have another throw off. But I had no idea.
Thanks to Chuck Scoville.
That's it.
Before taught me that there. Beat my ass.
Yeah. Competition's a funny thing, but I mean, I spoke about this at this pruning workshop. Brian and I talked to everybody outside about the competition and the atmosphere of these workshops, and I'm like, the one thing that's great about it is you root for other people to kick your ass, and you're cool with it. And if they school you, you're happy for them. You feel stupid, but you're like, dang, now I know something better. And they talk to you about how they beat you, and they try to help you for next year. That's how I got better.
It's easy to say that to a guy that never loses, right? Or it's just easy for a guy to say that.
Let's set the record straight. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has lost more world championships than this guy right here. I've been in a lot of them. I've only won a few of them. I've lost way more. But and the funny thing, and I think you can appreciate this too, but when you think back to your best climb, somebody asked me, Ed Gilman asked me, he said, "You remember the Nashville climb?" And I'm like, "Yeah, the tulip tree." He said, "Yeah, we were sitting up on the hill." I said, "Yeah, it was 115 foot tall." He said, "Yeah, you struggled with your throw line." I said, I hit where I wanted to immediately, but I couldn't get it to come down. I threw over the tree. It was in the twigs, and I couldn't get it to come down into the union. Took me forever. I get my rope finally set in a 100-foot crotch. I look over at the clock, and I got 9 minutes and change to go, and I didn't even start climbing. And I just started foot-locking this tree. I foot-locked to the top. I tied in, and I couldnn't breathe, and I just go anyway. I was like, I got to get through this tree. And I ran through this tree, and I got all the stations. Probably wasn't the smoothest climb, but I ran through all the stations. I hit the ground. Went to go pull my gear out because I look over at the clock and I got 2 minutes left. And I'm like, is that wrong? Did they stop? And I see it's clicking. I'm like, crap, I can actually finish this. So I'm pulling my rope out, and what happens? My rope gets stuck. A little retriever line gets wrapped inside my pulley saver at the time, pulls the rope in. It's locked off in every direction. I pulled everything. I pulled my ascent line. I had pulled this. I pulled that. It wouldn't come out. It's 98 degrees, humid as can be. I'm defeated. I'm forget it.
Oh yeah.
Leave it. I'm done. DQ, whatever. Take the points off. And it was a mess up there. You remember, everybody had to wait for a half hour for them to pull it out because it was all jammed up in the top of this 100 foot up this tulip tree, and it was not easy. So, but that's one of my fun memories of all times. When people say, "What's your favorite competition?" I'd say Hawaii's one, and then this Nashville is one.
Yeah.
The climbs and the competitions, and you know what? I won neither one of those.
Yeah.
They're not the ones I won.
Yeah.
It's just funny when you reflect on stuff, what really matters to you and what's important to you.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's the fun of these relationships. I mean, I got memories with all you guys. I wouldn't trade for the world. That's just the way it is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I remember as a kid watching, both of you guys compete. I took a lot from both of you guys and added it to my repertoire, and just kind of, I think that's the fun part as a climber going to these comps is, like you said, being able to take these little tiny nuggets from everybody and you kind of build yourself off of it. And
for sure.
Been pretty pretty awesome journey. I mean, I'm saying about 20 years competing, and I got one. You know,
Exactly.
hey, I'm
It's not easy, dude.
I'm happy to have my one.
Yeah, I hear you.
Don't get me wrong, but
I hear you.
you know, I think about it. I'm like 20 years.
State champion.
Yep.
Western chapter champion 8 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just checking.
Yeah. I know.
Mark, 19 times, 20 times state champion.
21, but
there you go.
Yeah, and that's kind of a funny thing to even think about now, because people ask me, like, how'd you compete for so long and why? The why is hard. It was just something I just always wanted to come back and see all you guys. It wasn't about winning or losing. Obviously, my favorite climbs, I didn't win.
Yeah.
But for me, it was about just being a part of it. It's such a cool event. If you haven't been to a competition, you got to go. If you're thinking about trying it, try it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of my best memories. It's where I met some of my favorite people in the whole world, people I'm surrounded with. And I think ultimately I quit competing because I didn't want to compete locally anymore. I felt like I could do more help by helping to run it at that point.
Yep.
You know, and I set things in motion earlier. I said, when I stopped, like, two of the things I had pride in and prided myself on was being good at the speed events, right? Mm-hmm. Being agile and trying to be and I thought, well, eventually I'm going to get older and I'm not going to be able to do good, and that's where it's going to go, and I'm going to be embarrassed or feel bad, and I'm going to see a decline. I'm going to be like, I'm not going to compete anymore because I'm not as good as I should be to say I'm at this level. And with the practice, with the training, with all the people that taught me, all you people that competed and helped me, I kept getting a little bit better. So I changed. What happened was I decided that's not why I should quit. Why I should quit, there's got to be a bigger reason why I quit, was I wanted to help out locally, and that's really what it was. Yeah. And people say, well, did you feel bad about winning and all that? I'm like, not really, because my mindset was this. I wanted someone to come up and just beat me on my best day locally, just like at the World Championships. Yep. That's why I lost. People beat me on my best days. I beat myself on my worst days too. We all did, but I wanted somebody to come in New Jersey and just kick my ass because they learned from me and everyone else and got better than me and were just more whatever. They just deserved it, and they did eventually. But
20 years.
Well, there's probably some arguable times where people maybe could have beat me, but it's a subjective event. Like there's some close calls out there that maybe I didn't deserve to win. I tell people that all the time. I don't know. You don't really know this event. You probably should have won more or lost more. Who knows? Yep. But the point is that when I was thinking about it, like, should I or shouldn't I? Should I feel bad? Because I actually did have a little bit of a conscience. It was like, am I doing the right thing for the chapter, for me, for the people around me? I don't want them to be defeated before they get here if they think they shouldn't be there. But ultimately, after the long talks with people I obviously trust and talk with, you guys, and I came to the realization, like, you know what? I want them to want to try harder to beat me, so that way they can represent the chapter as good or better than I could, because that's what the guy before me did and wanted. Like, he wanted me to beat him. Then when I did, he left. Yep. He was like, all right, I got other things to do, and he was right. But so I think that's where it went for me.
I got a very similar story, and I agree to that 100%. I was in that same boat of wanting to back out, and I'm like, I started to feel bad that I was winning, at the chapter level. And I was like, am I doing this for the right reason anymore? I'm not here to win. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to, like, why am I here competing? I don't know why, and that's where it got. And I'm like, well, if I just stop, I'm giving other people opportunity to come in and start to win, but I'm like, am I doing them a disservice? Am I not pushing them? Yeah. Because I've been the guy to push for the past, X amount of years, like you said, and bring that talent up, and so I did get to the point where competition became like a job, it became work. I didn't have that passion, desire to win and compete, and that's when I knew. I was like, that's it. I'm done. I need to give back. I need to help the chapter. I need to do whatever it takes. But this is not for me, anymore. Yeah. It's kind of a weird transition.
But I also think that part of what drove me is I didn't want to lose to someone who didn't put in effort, didn't practice, didn't want to go to workshops, didn't want to innovate. Like, I put my life into this. You guys all did the same. When I was home at night, like, this is kind of ridiculous, honestly. I talked about this in my longevity talk this week. I'm talking about that as part of the program. And what I tell them about when I was competing every day leading to the competition, all year round, I thought about the competition. I thought about how I can improve my climbing in and out every single day on the job site. Every climb was a work climb. Every footlock was a competition footlock in the workplace with a chainsaw on my harness. But I did more than that. And you know this, and you know this, and you know this. I worked out every day. Weight training, physical fitness, 300 workout was a big part of it, all that stuff.
I remember, yeah.
And I would work all day, climb all day, and then I would practice after work, and I would do routines. And I would do 2 types of practice. I would do the physical training, which is the foot locking. Maybe I'd do 5 foot locks in a row with no break, and then pull my rope and go home, and then go have dinner.
Yep.
Or I would go out and I would try techniques like Robert Phillips showed me. I'd be like, I got to get this down and see how I can do this. You know, this retrievable false crotch idea that he's got, the static retrievable false crotch. You remember that? Of course you do. He's laughing. He's like, yes. But I think all that stuff for me was, if somebody's putting in that effort and they beat me, I am happy as can be. I'm like, this person deserves the world championship and beyond. Like, that's what I wanted to see. If you go to work every day and say, I'm just the best climber, and you don't compete, you don't practice to get better or learn the rules or study the rule book and all that stuff, then you don't deserve to win. I'm sorry.
I know, I got that too growing up. You know, it's like, oh man, you win. It's because your name, you know, your name goes back. And I'm like, I hated that. I'm like, you do not do what I do. Wake up at 4 a.m., go swim 2 miles, go to work after that, come back, run 10 miles, hit the weights, go to bed at 10 o'clock, wake up at 4, do it again. You know, and
work
then,
your butt off.
have my training. It's the same thing, doing foot locks after work, like in the dark, at night, eyes closed, all that shit, you know, devoting the time and years for, you know, for a chapter win, you know.
Jared's a little, something's wrong. So he got a screw loose. He did all that.
No, but it's real, you know, in having that vision of what you want, you know, for me growing up, like I did, man. I competed to win.
I know.
I was like, I know it. That's what I want.
And you did a service to the industry by doing that. Because to be honest with you, the people that did all that made the competition better. I mean, honestly, I say this too when I talk about some of these things. Like, I look at the videotape of my first world championship, and I look at how I climb now, and Mark Chisholm today could smoke Mark Chisholm when he was 26 with his first world championship. No lie. Like, I can outwork me in a job site. And why? Technology, experience, learning, all that stuff. I'm not any physically better capable. I just got better on other ways, and I pulled stuff in.
A little wiser.
And I think that's why I feel like the industry got so good. If you look at somebody that takes last place in the competition this year, they're probably as good or better than someone who won it my first year, and then some. I mean, it's probably just not even on the map.
Yeah.
You know, they would. Yeah. I would get smoked if Mark Chisholm, a 26-year-old Mark Chisholm, climbed this year. I wouldn't even be able to compete. I would definitely be in last place. Yeah. Definitely.
You could go out the day, Mark, and compete and beat everybody. So
that's not even true.
Come on.
All right. What do I owe you? Where's the tip jar in this joint? Love you, man.
Robert, when was your first competition?
74, 75.
Yes.
70,
my man.
75.
Your first international was 79.
Wow.
These were the days, no Prussics, full footlock, free for all, no belay.
3-man aerial rescue.
Wow.
A dummy went up and we rescued him. So. Yeah.
We did that too. We did live rescues.
Yeah.
Like, we partnered up.
Find a dummy.
I was the dummy.
Yeah.
Obviously, for a lot of people, they're like, hey, would you be my dummy? Yeah. Why? Because why do you say that? Never mind. Don't want to hurt my feelings. But yeah, no. They would say, yeah, I'll rescue you, rescue me. And man, you got beat up sometimes. I got rope burn. I'm coming down. I'm like, ow, 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 ow. You know, like somebody's dropping me on the ground. I'm like, oof.
I didn't even know this.
Mm-hmm.
That's
you use live
prior to me.
Yeah. And then, you know, you remember this. The Belade speed climb back in the day was the body thrust, right? There was no grabbing of the tree. It was just grab the rope and go. And it was 40 foot, straight up any tree. And sometimes they had lean, sometimes they didn't. but your belay was somebody on the ground holding your rope
Basically, yes.
with no device.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hope I don't let go, and I hope they don't either if I do. It was just a wild time. Cowboy
Through
time.
pulling,
Yeah.
up over a limb.
Through a pulley or that wooden block they created, so it wasn't as much. There was more friction. They wanted to be like a real natural tree, and they put a wooden
That's a
block
good
up
idea.
there.
They got to bring that back.
Natural.
That's a good idea.
Robert Gallant, if you guys know Robert Gallant, that guy was the man in the blade speed climb. He was fast as can be. I mean, you remember him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Unbelievable
I see
body
him at every
thruster.
trade show, man. That guy still looks great shape.
He's in great
He's got
shape. Yeah,
Popeye arms.
he does.
Yeah.
He's strong
He
as can
kinda-
be.
he kinda
He still climbs every day, and I don't know what age he is. He always talks about that I'm young, and I'm not young,
He's
but
in between you and my dad.
he's like, I want to say he tells me he's like 55, 56, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Maybe 56. But either way, this guy was a beast. I remember watching him
55,
compete,
56.
and he would body thrust this thing like a unbelievable, like he's sprinting. I never saw anybody pull rope faster than that guy.
Yeah.
He won it every year he did it that I watched him. He took second at the Worlds twice, 2 years in a row, partly because he just was that good of a climber like that. He just was natural.
He kind of reminds me of Rich Kingsborough. He's kind of got that same
Oh, yeah.
kind of.
Always smiling, always happy. I mean, these tree climb events are just, they shape your life. You guys got to try them if you haven't tried them. At least go to them. You don't have to compete, but go to them. And they're just amazing, right?
So what about you, Brian? What happened in the comp? You competed a few times and it was like, you know what? Screw Mark. I'm not going to beat him. I'm done.
Just started. I just felt bad for him.
He,
You know,
he didn't want to
gave him too many memories.
I
that he
threatened him
usually
at work.
forget.
I'm like, if you beat me, you're fired. Fired. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah.
Oh, so
no,
you guys,
no lies.
you
So
guys,
go
you
ahead,
guys
good
worked
luck.
together too for a minute.
We did.
for a couple of years.
Yeah. And we had some great times. You
Yeah.
can talk, you can argue with me, but we had some jobs we did, and we worked for other companies together too, and did stuff like, for other companies, and took on some pretty nasty trees. And actually,
Mhm.
I credit this guy to keeping me alive one time, because I don't know this for a fact because you can't go back in time, but I climbed this pine tree one time, and he knows this story. And I got to a point that had this really big, goofy shape over a 3-story house. And it got to a point where I was like, I'm not going up there and butt hitching this over. I'm going to butt hitch it here. And I gave him the signal. And this is like, what? How tall was that tree?
At least 100 foot.
Yeah, it was probably 100, 120 foot tall pine tree. And
So like 75.
Yeah.
exactly, 40, 50.
It was this big.
It was like this big. No, it
So really a foot.
yeah. But it was a big tree in North Jersey. And it split into 2 leads, and one lead broke out. It was just a stub of like, I don't know, like a 12, 16 foot
We
log.
call those co-dominant stems.
Yep. It wasn't, don't get on my nerves, Jared. Can I mute this? I got to curse him out a minute. I will come across this. Never mind. But literally, I get up in this tree, and it had this weird shape. And I'm as I'm rigging it, I'm feeling it, because you gotta kind of ride it, feel it, see what you see below. And I wasn't 100% convinced this tree was in fantastic shape internally, based on the lead that broke out and what I felt with the shape. There was no cracks or flaws I could find. So I get to the point, I'm like, I'm gonna butt hitch this top over, and I talk to him real quick, and I just basically tell him, like, I need you to control this is all the way to the ground as best you can. Like, don't jam it up on me. And he's like, no problem. I wouldn't have made that cut, honestly, without somebody like him on the rope. In my eyes, like, he's one of the only guys I'd put on that rope. There's a couple that I would say, you know what, you could do it. My friend Rob at home would do it. I was like, but I was really nervous of that cut because of how I felt that tree was reacting. And when I cut this thing, it hopped off the cut quick. And I'm talking, it was like, I don't know, it was probably a 14-inch diameter top. I don't know how long it was. It's pretty heavy, it was weighty at the tips. And this thing hopped off the cut, and there's a weird shape, and it started to move. And I looked down as it started to go, and like the trunk was moving in 3 different directions from the head.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, oh boy, this
I guess
is it.
the
I'm
pa-
going
the palm
down.
wobble.
I was like, this is going down maybe. And I just like held on. I was like looking at, hope I hit the rooftop to break my fall a little bit. And nothing happened. He moved it perfectly. We had a transfer line set up, so he let it down close to the roof because it was over a 3-story roof, like I mentioned. And then he drew it across and then started to slow it down.
Nice.
And I was like, wow, that was probably not the best decision to make at that point, but I was confident But again, this is hindsight. I don't know that there was anything wrong with it, but you can speak to that.
I mean, it was a tree by another company that they bid it to use a crane. They brought the crane out there. The crane operator's like, where am I going to go through the trees of the canopies? Go through the canopy of the trees of the road just to get over to this other tree. He goes, it's impossible to get a crane in here.
Yeah, you got
My friend was a salesperson of that particular company, and he calls me up. He's like, kind of screwed up here. You think you guys can help me out? And we said, yeah, well, call us Portable Crane Company. And, him and I got the same price as what he was going to charge the crane company to do the tree. So,
yeah. And you know what the funny story part that was is Brian got all ticked off because, obviously it was a decent size removal, difficult situation. We came up with this plan together, what we were going to do. It's a big story, but what the funny part is for me is that we had a rain delay because the lightning came out. So that puts pressure on you. And anybody listening to this, make sure you pay attention when you feel pressured and don't make stupid decisions because you're pressured. You got to hone that in and be like, listen, it doesn't matter. Like, if this job can go late, this doesn't get done today, it's fine. It's better than rushing and doing something stupid. But I remember feeling pressured. And then we came together and we talked about what we were going to do, and we got it all done. And he was dropping the stick at like 1 o'clock. Yeah, like 1 o'clock.
We started at 10.
We started this tree at 10 o'clock. And like I said, it was not a small tree. Even in my eyes, it was like, for me, it was not a small tree. We got this thing down to where he says, I can drop that stick. He was a good faller. And
Faller.
Faller.
Feller.
DM me if I'm wrong here. But he says, I can drop it right there. It's good. I said, you sure? Because it looked a little tall to me. The slope of the ground was weird. It was rocky.
Oh, he's like,
and he's like, I'm good. He sighted it up, and he's like, yep, I'm good. So I came out of the tree, and he popped this tree on the ground while I was pruning some other trees that we didn't even have to do. I brought some of the guys up with me, climber, and showed them some techniques, and we pruned a nice red oak out on the side of the tree. Anyway, long story short, we finished the job early. We go home. The guy who was going to do the job, who came to the job, told his boss they didn't do anything special.
No, no, hold on. Sorry.
Wrong guy?
Nope. Just a little bit of adjustment of the story. He's close.
Dun, dun.
So, no.
I get this stuff wrong all the time, guys.
No.
Surprise.
It's close. But the proper way to tell the story is while we're there, the company that we were working for brought in their own crew to help it.
True.
But my salesman friend said, he's kind of laughing at the whole scenario. He's like, you know what? I'm going to treat this as a training seminar. So I actually don't have to pay these guys. The company will pay the guys salaries for the day.
Smart.
So we're like, yeah, no sweat. We'll kind of turn this into a training seminar. We can show them some different techniques, but with the rain delay, that all went out the window. Now it's like, get the job done if you can. Mm-hmm. We don't have to worry about so much with the training. If they learn something, so on and so forth. So while we're doing the tree, that main foreman, he's like, geez, I don't see anything big deal about what you guys are doing and so on and so forth. And I go, it's not a big deal that we just took down this tree that you couldn't do physically. And we started at 10 and it's down by 1 o'clock. I'm like, that's not a big deal. Like, you don't see the
value there.
Like, so then, like Mark said, we started to prune the other tree. Mark starts up the tree, actually sets the guy's line in the tree. He gets up there, does what he has to do. We were just deadwooding this big red oak. We all hit the ground. Him and I are probably back home by 3:30 on a Saturday. My friend, the salesman, calls me up laughing on Monday. He goes, you would never believe that same foreman came in that morning because they have equipment compensation funds that the company actually puts for, maybe $10, $15 in an account for them so they can buy equipment. He came in that following Monday from that Saturday and bought $1,500 worth of new climbing gear and all this other stuff.
Nothing.
But
nothing
it's one of those things like,
Yeah.
well, I don't see anything. No, you guys ain't doing anything big deal about
Yeah.
this.
Ego of the
It's-
industry. You guys
Yeah.
all know.
So
You've seen
what's
it,
this
man.
guy's name? Do you remember his name?
No.
Come on, I know you.
I don't
you
know
have
his
to
name.
know.
I never knew his name from the beginning. And honestly, I don't even remember the story correct. You heard it.
Yeah.
How am I gonna remember
He's
his
like,
name?
you know, thinking
Can I get
about
another
it.
beer?
I just made all that shit up. None of that happened, you guys. It's just.
It's actually not even true.
So what about your sales friend? What was his name?
Ryan Moore, actually.
Yeah, Ryan's a good dude.
Yeah.
Ryan's a good
Still
tree
around
guy.
doing
He's got his own business. Yeah,
Yep.
he's doing good. He's a
Yep.
Jersey guy.
Nice.
Really good dude. Anyway,
Yeah. But he'll
cheers, Ryan, if you see this.
yeah, if he follows Mark or whoever,
Yeah.
hears his story, he'll be
He'll
laughing.
laugh. He'll remember because he'll
be laughing his
verify.
ass
He's gonna get on later.
He's probably on here right now
he's
saying
gonna
that's
like-
a true story. That's a true story.
But it went down like this, not like that.
yeah. But,
No, it was. I
Brian
mean,
got
it
it
was
wrong.
close.
Yeah.
It was close.
you
It was
know.
just the little details that it
Whatever.
happened that quick. That guy on Saturday saying, "I don't see anything big deal. I'm not learning anything," and then Monday,
Yeah.
within 48 hours, he's buying $1,500 worth of new gear.
Oh man. So let's
the industry.
let's talk a little bit since you got all this knowledge and experience in
Yes.
the room. I just want to dive real quick into some either near misses or how'd you guys mitigate some near misses? We kind of went over. We started talking,
Start
but
with Robert.
I'd love to
I'm
hear.
sure he must have
some
a
of that
near
for-
miss somewhere.
'cause I know
along his
everybody
career.
watching has either heard of a near miss or they've
Guy does
been
some shady stuff.
part
That's
of
what I'm
one.
telling you. No, I'm just joking. Hey, if you're in the industry a long time, you're gonna have things that are gonna wake you up, or they're gonna hurt you, or worse. I mean, it's gonna happen. So, interesting. You learn a lot from these near misses. Yeah.
Yeah, the day the crane almost tipped over.
Oh, there's
Some of those
one.
good ones. Yeah, piece was too big. It was going to split the house in half.
Wow.
And luckily they powered down the piece. Landed in the backyard.
So was that a free spool powered, or they just full on gas it and ramped it
Get
down?
it down there. Ned clamp off.
Did they?
Remember Ned?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Wow.
That's the only crane job I ever did with Ned. First and last.
Wonderful.
Did it bury the out?
yeah.
Did it bury the? Did it go off the side or was it going off the back?
The outrigger started to lift on the other side. So the crane operator was kind enough. It was a black walnut. It was about as big on as this pine table.
Wow.
And it decided it better to just drop
Big
it in the
table.
backyard and cut it in half, pick it up later.
Hmm.
But that was hard to explain to Willie Carroll, who was our boss at the time. That, yeah, we almost split the house in half.
Yeah.
Near miss.
That's the crane story,
Yeah.
There's always the bucket story,
Yeah. So
where the outrigger started to tip, and you start to tip into the power lines.
Oh boy.
shit.
Yeah, so then all of a sudden you have to just hit the right lever and lower the upper boom and quickly off balance it. And now the problem is that the outrigger's off the ground and the bucket won't work.
Yeah.
Stuck in the bucket until somebody can come figure out how to get you back down.
Wow.
But never,
I know how to do that.
Never had one go over though.
Just hook a
Bucket.
rope to it and
Yeah.
pull it.
No, I can honestly say I haven't had that experience. Nor have I
Thank
fallen
God.
out of a bucket. That's good too. Then just
It's a better way to go. And don't chip yourself, people. Don't chip yourself. Don't throw yourself out of a bucket.
do you remember
Words
the
to live
crane,
by.
a crane truck, an A-frame crane truck coming down the driveway that rolled over the chalk blocks, and that wasn't as good of a story. But anyhow,
Did it end up in the house?
oh no, it just ended up in the middle of the street. But that's an old truck.
Yeah.
What can I say?
I had a 76 F600 bucket truck, rear mount. I remember my brother brought it to the job, and I'm doing a site walk, and I walked back out to the main road, and I'm like looking down the trail, and I'm like, where's the truck? You parked it right there. I came out, and that thing rolled about 50, 60 yards down the hill, through the fence, almost through this into the house. Oh, man, it was a mess. Took down an old evergreen pear, just flattened it.
Are these brother stories? Do I get to talk about my brother too? Oh goodness sakes!
Don't start that. Don't open that can of worms.
Oh,
Steve,
yeah,
if
we're
you're
not
watching,
talking about Steve. Yeah,
I got a
I'm
lot of
telling
stories about you.
you. And I got a lot about my brother Jeff.
Let's not go there.
Well, they always said they're good stories.
You'd be end up on a leather sofa for another $15,000 trying to work that one
Curled
out.
up with a blanket.
So what about chainsaw injuries? All the years you've been
Which
doing.
one? Where did it start?
You gotta-
What was my first one?
Yeah,
Or my last one?
both.
Oh, the shin bone. That was a nice one. And
That's a
then my
good
knee,
spot to hit.
cut
A
the
lot of
top my
protection
knee.
there.
Of course, both elbows, and my most recent one was my hand, where I cut my tendon, and that was a stupid one-handed chainsaw operation, as the steel manufacturing company will contest, because they wouldn't talk to me.
Love you, Steel.
Yeah, we love you still. They all said, "Oh, how'd you cut your hand?" I said, "A one-handed operation." And that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We all tell you to use two hands.
Otherwise known as operator error.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
So
true.
that was a on top, or was that a
It was a kickback.
kickback?
Yeah. Just trying to, strip some sprouts off a limb, and the chain caught the sprout and kicked the saw back. But it led to a great story, because as I'm bleeding and realizing that, the driveway is filled with brush, and I couldn't get my Jeep out the driveway until I was able to move the brush. So I held my hand up against my hip and stopped the bleeding, cleared the brush off the driveway, got on the Jeep, drove the Jeep down to my drive, which was only the next exit down the road. And I got out to open the gate, and the emergency brake releases on the Jeep, and it about ran me over.
Insult to injury.
As the Jeep's driving by, I hop into the front
There's
seat,
2 injuries. Now there's 2.
Man.
go down to the house, run some cold water on it, put bandages on it, and
All good.
and then, of course, proceed to call my wife and let her know that I'm on my way to the hospital.
Little duct tape. Little
Getting a little
whatever,
faint,
you're good.
Yeah, right.
Back to work.
Finally get to the hospital. I'm sitting in the wheelchair, and just as I was getting ready to go in and get stitched up, got out of the wheelchair and passed out.
Ouch.
So now I'm on the floor.
Oh, man. Man down.
But that was just, that's just
Yeah.
one injury,
Yeah.
Back injuries, leg injuries, neck injuries, crack, crushing, condensed vertebrae.
Well, that was just about an hour ago. I was saying.
You guys should have seen Jared driving off road, and my man hopped so high he hit his head on the roof. I heard it. And I was like, "Ooh!"
We did a little mud digging out back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Falling out of the tree for the first time.
Ooh, that's
There's a good one.
Yeah.
Not tied in, getting up to the limb 25 feet up in the air. I was only 16, and I hit a dead limb, and the dead limb broke off where my hand was at the base of the tree, and I went to fall off the limb, and I tried to jump back and grab the limb as I was falling, which didn't help, and I ended up missing the picket fence, and ended up,
Wow.
of course, knocking the wind out, which wasn't a big deal, but it did crack, crush, and condense vertebrae for the rest of my life.
Wow.
But, all the foreman came over to me was with a pitchfork and said, "Get back up the tree."
Yeah.
And when I got back to the dinner table that night, I had to explain to my father what happened that day, that I had fallen out of the tree.
What happened to Pitchfork guy?
Yeah, he went on to last a good career.
So say you didn't get fired for that.
He didn't get fired for
I'm
that
just
one.
curious.
But that was the first job. Okay, the second job, the next day I was expelled from school for a week. Okay, so I had to have 3 different foremen. And
It's getting good, juicy.
oh yeah, they're good. Oh yeah.
Go on,
Well,
Robert.
let's just talk about the.
It's just us talking. No one can hear you.
I know nobody can hear this.
That's fine.
Everybody's dead anyway, so what's the difference? My dad had an incentive program for injuries for workman's comp. And so every month you didn't have an accident, you get $10. So if you went to a whole year, you get 120. If you went 2 years, you get, 240, 3 years, 360. Well, some of these gentlemen had some pretty extensive 10-year careers with no accidents.
Wow.
Until I came along. And in 1 week,
Robert's killing the bonus
I
program.
set everybody back
Get
to
him.
0. Nobody
Get him
wanted
off
me
my
on their
crew. I don't want him. He's poison.
Well, I ran one truck into the back of another truck. That was one. And then I pulled the bumper off another truck, and that was another accident. And so this was all in 1 week. And
Robert, do you need a job? I could use a guy like you.
It's like, dude,
Sounds great.
you don't need another week off. Go back to school. Maybe you can learn something.
That's too funny.
That was my first week of work.
I hope everybody can hear this. This is good stuff.
Was there a time? Was there a time in your career? Because you're have generations of three generations,
Third
right?
generation.
Third generation. And was there ever a point at that age where you had some fuck ups and you're just like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I watched my grandpa do it. I watched my dad do it. I don't want to do this.
I'm afraid of heights. So, getting up in a tree is a challenge in
Perfect.
itself.
Perfect.
And it's a good thing not to be able to see, because then I can keep my focus on what I'm doing and not looking at the ground. So, yes.
You don't like heights.
It's crazy.
You
How
can
good
see-
he did, right? Being afraid of heights. How good did he become? Afraid
Right.
of like the thing you got to get over. That's horrible.
Get the fear out.
Wow.
How'd you get the fear out? What was your main thing?
Again, not good eyesight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good eyesight. That's how I got over it.
Keep
That
focus
I
on
drank beer
right in front of
heavily.
you.
I got really drunk on the job.
Boy, I was high. Everything was blurry. I don't know. I felt like I was a foot off the ground.
I was going to be a ground man, but then I got high. I was going to stay in school and not get expelled, but I got high. Now I'm a tree climber, and I don't know why.
And I'm high.
Because I got high. This is going sideways. Robert, there's more to this story. I can feel it in his voice. He's got a lot of stories. Brian, how about you?
You should see me a day.
I know you can't compete with all that.
Yeah, I know.
But you got to have some stories, too.
On the spot.
Any near misses? Any problems? Any busted stuff?
Well, I think
Any down power lines,
Let's hear it.
I was only
You ever kill any animal?
I was a ground person for about 2 years.
Pickles.
Oh yeah, and
We'll talk about Mr. Pickle.
that particular boss
That cat's protected.
only over a 2-year period only gave me like a 50-cent raise. So I'm like, I'm out of here. So I ended up kind of lying on an application, told him I knew how to climb, so on and so forth. So I started off as a second climber for this new company, and literally the first job, or at least during the
I
first
can
week,
do it, Jerry.
the main foreman hung a pole saw up, and then somehow it got knocked off and it cut his hand, and it exposed everything in his hand on its way down. So he's out. All of a sudden, we need another climber, another foreman. So the boss literally hires another guy. We go back to the same job, finish pruning the tree that guy got hurt in. We have one removal. The new guy starts doing this removal literally 10 feet off the ground, and he was using his harness, but he put a new lanyard on. And once again, this is back in 93, 94, maybe. So people were still using different types of lanyard attachments, so on and so forth. But he literally tied it himself right before he started going up this tree. He fell out of the tree.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
So
boy.
2 people got hurt on that same job within like a week and a half.
So tell me, did you climb that tree?
I
Tell
literally,
me.
I had to finish the job, and
Oh,
I
my
was,
God. This
all
guy
of a
goes
sudden-
up a tree that almost kills 2 other guys, right?
well, yeah, it was just.
And you were a grounds person at this point.
Well, no, I was a second climber,
Okay.
but I had lied, so I'd only climbed a few trees with my other company. So you get, all of a sudden I was making, instead of $7 an hour, I was making $10 an hour. I'm like, ooh.
All right.
Man, I'm a climber.
And that's how I ended up becoming a foreman, is lying on an application and then having 2 guys that were supposed to know more than me get hurt. And all of a sudden I get bumped up to $10.50 an hour. And
But you never took a
And then I
spill
never-
out of a tree or
No.
cut your hand with the chainsaw.
Well,
Handsaw cuts.
So I did have some experience. I had a friend that was a logger, went to logging school out in Pennsylvania. And on the weekends, he would go cut coal wood for a guy that had a firewood processor. And I was always looking for extra work. And he's like, yeah, you can come out with me. And he's the one that taught and yelled at me for cutting too high of a stump out in the woods, because every inch counts. That's just
Taught you
less-
well, boy.
less board footage that he gets to pull out with his with his skidder, so on and so forth. So he was that guy that's like, cut that son of a bitch as low as you can, and it kind of grew on you. But being out in the woods, being able to fell 100 trees in a day or whatever. I mean, I know you're not doing that around here so much, but I'm just talking 20-inch trees. It's easy to cut 100 trees in a day. But if you do that repetitively, you get pretty good at understanding how to fell a tree at that point in time. So I always credit that type of time in my career that I had that opportunity to be out in the woods and just fell tree after tree after tree. That wasn't a dedicated timber tree. That came later on. I was able to cut hemlock and oak and stuff like that was being scaled to go to the mill and so on and so forth. But starting off just cutting coals, that all we had to do is just tape out 22 feet that was going to a firewood processor. Is the best opportunity to be out there and get that.
So when you're saying cutting coals, I mean, firewood, but is there a specific type of wood that you were cutting primarily up there?
Just hardwoods, maples and oaks, ash, hickory.
Gotcha.
Coal trees are just, they're not scalable trees. People want to go in there and thin out their wooded forest area. It's just forest management. So you go in there, maybe something has a real bad crook to it. So that's what you go and cut and get that out of there. And you'll allow the more straight trees that eventually will turn into a product that you can sell outside of just being worth just firewood.
Right.
So they call them coals, same as like lobsters back home.
Huh?
You got coal lobsters, which has like one.
He's from Rhode Island.
I have no idea.
He's from
what
Rhode
we're talking
Island,
about now.
everybody.
Claw.
It's wicked cool. Wicked.
It's wicked awesome.
wicked awesome.
So wait, lobsters are the same thing as cutting coal?
No. Coal.
Type of lobster.
CULL.
Okay.
What is just a kind of like a nickname
God, I
for
feel
a type of lobster that only has one claw. It's a coal lobster.
got it.
Coal trees.
I'm like,
Yeah.
we went to talk about lobsters now.
Yeah. How do we do that? Because he used to be a fisherman too.
Yeah.
Before he was
Straight out of high school, I was a lobsterman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And,
Gotcha.
a little bit of a commercial fisherman.
And he doesn't like eating fish, but he was a commercial fisherman. How
What the-
brutal is that?
Yeah.
How'd you get into fishing?
Just needed a job.
Mm.
Huh.
We're like,
I guess you're in New
it's
England.
It's really easy.
Yeah.
You should do it. It's really easy.
It's an easy job.
Just like tree work.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
No, so that's process of elimination with everybody that worked ahead of me at that particular tree company got me a foreman position and never looked back. I took that opportunity and just kept on running with it.
Well,
My man Glenn Riggs is sending me messages right now saying good stuff. He loves this stuff. He loves you, Robert. He saw you speak in Jersey when you did that history. You remember that history program you did on tree work and arboriculture? Great stuff, man. He was spot on with it. He was like, "This is the best talk I've seen all this whole conference," and I loved it too. I was like, "Yeah, I brought him here. It was my idea." I take credit for it. See, I did that, but I love this guy. What he talks about, and he just does so much good stuff. Yeah.
how's his son Jake?
Jake's great,
He doing
man.
good?
Yeah.
Good.
Jake's my man too.
All right, he's on it.
Jake's I don't think he's on here. Maybe he's on there. I don't know. I can't see who's on it, but Glenn was texting me, so I saw that pop up. But Jake and I are actually gonna do a presentation together at Pendel ISA next month on Valentine's Day. Jake, bring me flowers if you're watching, or some chocolates or something. You know what I mean? Don't do that to me. Don't do me wrong, Jake.
All right.
But yeah, good.
I got to hear from you now, Mark. Three generations of watching this, man. Tell me, I want to hear your near misses, but has there been a point in your career as a young age coming in, thinking that you're going to do something else, or going to school and watching your dad do it, your grandfather do it, kind of thinking, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna do something else, and then end up in the tree work.
You ever been knocked out, Mark?
Hey, what are we talking about here, guys? What is it? Have I ever been knocked unconscious? No. Not, you mean for tree work?
Yeah.
No. Fighting my brother, maybe.
Yeah.
Boarded in hockey, I got knocked unconscious.
believe that.
That's
Seen you
when I
play
busted my shoulder up. I'm still looking for you, Jim. If I see you on the ice, I'm gonna kill you.
Jimbo.
But no, honestly,
No unconscious.
I've never had a moment in tree work where I thought I don't want to do this. The only time I thought maybe I should do something else is when I was at that stage in my life. Nailed modeling. Don't start that. It's a whole nother story. But no,
Hand
I'll
model.
make the steel come out.
It was a hand model. I know.
Hand model.
That's how it all started.
Nice looking hands or anything else. Don't worry about that. But when I started working at a young age, I was like all about it. Like I loved it. You guys know. Like you know how it is. You see the camaraderie. You see your family come in. My brother, my father, everybody coming in from work. Saturdays, my godfather, uncles, everybody. I was like, man, I want to be part of this. Listen to their stories. It was awesome. So I was a big pain in my dad's ass, and it was until he took me on the job site. I think I was 12 years old, and he was like, hold this rake. This is what you're doing. Don't do anything else. And then it was like drag branches from here to there, and that's how you
Stop holding the rake. Use the rake. You got
put my harness down. You're not a climber. You'll never be a climber. Now he never said that to me, but so that went like this, where I really started wanting to learn. I became a climber, and obviously it was the greatest thing I could ever want to do. It just was fantastic. Is that beer for me?
Yeah, like
He's shoving it to me.
Crooked Goat.
It's Crooked Goat. We love you, Crooked Goat Brewery.
Lone Star.
So my interest and passion went like this, because it was like, now I'm learning to climb. And when you learn to climb for the first time, you realize there's like, it's a different experience than you've ever had in your life on anything, right? Any level. So it went from there to there to there. I learned to prune, learned to do all these different things, then started removals. Maybe I was probably 15, my first removal. And because I had to learn to climb first with no saw. Then I had to learn to prune with a handsaw. And I couldn't use a chainsaw for a full year. And I could only use a chainsaw then when someone was watching me, just to do the elevations. And let me tell you folks, you think it's no big deal. Use the handsaws we used to have to use. No steels, spanners,
Fan 08, baby.
Like,
That
I'm
push
talking
saw.
like the carpenter handsaw you had in high school. If you did wood
That push
wood
saw.
shop, it's like this big long thing, and it was dull as can be. Like, that was a workout. And I know you young guys are like, oh yeah, you had it so hard, all you old folks. But that was no joke. But then I started learning to use a chainsaw, and it was like, it just was never ending. You could just always find something to learn almost every day, and it was always engaging. Everything was new, exciting. Fast forward to high school, everyone's going to school. I'm going to college. All my friends going to college. Where are you going to go? I'm like, I don't really know. I'm going to go to college. I think I'm not going to go to college because I'm doing tree work. And then I started thinking, am I just doing this because it's the easy thing? It's right in front of me because it was given to me more or less, or do I really want to do it? So I started doing some soul searching and decided to go to community college. So I did that just to see what it was like more than anything. See if I experienced college, say I did it, whatever. I had no plans to go on beyond that, but I was going to see through getting a 2-year degree. That was what I was definitely going to do. So I went to community school. I still did tree work 3 days a week at least. Some days I got pulled out of school to go anyway because I did that. You guys know, high school, dad's like, so-and-so called out. You're sick today. Sorry, Dad, I'm throwing you under the bus here, but you did it. You did it to me. 16-year-old Mark, what are you doing at school today? Anything important? No, Dad.
Yeah.
You're coming to work now.
I used to look forward to those days.
I know.
Hey, Dad,
actually, I was like,
you need
no,
somebody?
I'm ready. I'm ready. But in college, I got my associate's degree when they called liberal arts at the time, which is easy to get into almost anything with that. And I started thinking about, I really enjoyed science and anatomy and physiology more than anything in nutrition class. That kind of combination was what I was attached to. So I started thinking, well, maybe I should become, a doctor, go to medical school. Or maybe my teacher at the time said, you'd be a really good teacher. And I was like, really? And he's like, you should be an anatomy and physiology professor. And he started talking to me about the money and how great it is and the benefits and all this. And I said, yeah, maybe I should. I really enjoy this school. I took anatomy and physiology, 2 times in a row and 2 labs. And so then I decided I'm going to go to Rutgers. I'm going to get a biology degree so I can do one of those if I want. Still not sure. Then I started tree climbing at the championships at the same time. And that's when I started meeting all of you guys. I started seeing the big picture, and I'm like, this is a cool industry. It's bigger than I ever thought it was. And there's way more to learn. There's way more to do. I'm nowhere near as good as I should be or could be. And it started to really sink in. And I went to Rutgers because I committed to go. Mind you, when I went to college, it sucked too because I was working 3 days a week. I was working in a sub shop as like a manager or like running, like opening, closing, imagine. The days and nights I didn't go to school because I went to school 3 days a week and 2 nights a week. And then I went to work or one of those jobs every day. And then I did both jobs on Saturday and 1 job on Sunday. So I was always busy. I didn't really enjoy that period of my life, to be honest with you. So I don't recommend it, folks, if you're thinking about it. But I did it anyway. I went to Rutgers, and my first semester, I just went to orientation and I dropped out. I started saying, what am I doing? I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get this degree. I'm going to pay out of my pocket another, whatever, I don't know how many thousands of dollars to get this degree that I'm never going to use. Yeah. And I was really starting to see the big picture in tree work and tree climbing. And I should have listened to my parents. Sorry, Mom, Dad. I should have listened to you. I shouldn't have gone to Rutgers. They knew what I wanted. They knew more than I did. But I had to see it through. So it was good for me because I felt fully committed after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went full force into tree work, tree climbing, championships, all that. It was like new blood. I felt so good about it. So that was the only time I thought maybe I should do something else, because I thought I was taking the easy route, and I didn't want to take an easy route.
Right.
Mind you, tree work and tree climbing is really not an easy route.
No.
Per se, but it was handed to me. This is a business that's functioning. It's right in front of me. There's no chance of really getting fired unless you really screw up.
Like Robert.
Yeah.
Hey,
hey, you know what? Sometimes
I was
it's
fired
gotta
6
be done.
times and hired 7.
Yeah. Lucky number 7. Got him that time.
We got
Can't get rid of me.
That's too crazy. But no, so I never did that. But and I never had a moment in the career of tree climbing where I felt like this is too dangerous or that was too close. I got to get out of this before I die. I never felt like I was risking my life. I've had times where I look back and I'm like, that could have went sideways, and I learned from it. The story I told about that tree with Brian. I mean, getting hit. I had a top breakout one time. That was probably the worst close call I had. But I was pretty young. It was before I went to college. I probably was 17, 18.
Yeah.
And I was rigging out a silver maple. And I put the rope in below my tying point to rig other stuff into it, and I tied above it, or no, vice versa. Sorry, I had my rigging point above it because back then they were taught in case it breaks out, you're tied in below it. I don't do the same practices now, but this is what I was taught back then because it made sense.
Right.
So my rigging point's here, my tying point's here, and I'm starting to go out on this big low lead. That's, I don't know how high it was, probably just 30 foot off the ground, and I'm gonna take it in half, but hitch it over, like just negative rig it. My foreman says, give me the whole thing. And I look at him and I'm like, he knows more than me. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. You could tie it right where you are. It's almost balanced that way. And he wasn't wrong. It was pretty close to balance. So I went back to the crotch, made a cut, wasn't lanyarded in. And because I didn't know any better then, and we didn't really do that then. It wasn't a rule that we knew of, whatever. Right. And I made this cut, and a piece started to swing around, and I hooked my chainsaw back on my harness. And as I looked away and put my saw away, all of a sudden I was free falling. I didn't know why. So I just went like this and tried to squirrel onto the tree. Right then I come to a complete stop, like a jolt, and I swing into the tree and I grab it, and I all of a sudden the brush, I couldn't see anything. It was like leaves everywhere. The problem was because when the top broke out, with below my anchor point when I rigged it too big. Mm-hmm. And when he started to lower it, it bent and it broke out. So the whole thing went over, and the piece went over in the same direction. I was on the back side of the tree, so we went down like this. And when we hit into a lower crotch, it stopped us both and swung us in, and we hit the tree. And I didn't know what happened. So all of a sudden I just latch on, I stick my spikes in. And my first reaction was to yell to my crew who can't see me now, because I'm thinking, geez, they got to be scared shitless.
Right.
I'm like yelling, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I looked around me and I looked down, and I'm literally 6 foot off the ground. Like that's how close I came to hitting the ground. Free fall.
Wow.
So I loosened up my rope, unclipped. I put my lanyard on now. Should have had it on before, folks, but I didn't have it on. And
how bad would it have been if you would have kept it on, though?
I don't know. I don't know how much it would have, if I would have fell much or if it would have pulled me. I really couldn't tell you. I don't know how far it would have went, because there was a pretty good space between the top of the tree where I cut and where the bottom was. I was probably halfway.
Got it.
So I wouldn't know, but however it worked out good, because I didn't fall to the ground. I didn't get hurt. I smashed into the tree, but it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But I latched in, I unclipped, they lowered it out. They asked me if I was all right. I said, yeah, I'm a little beat up, whatever happened. And they said, I grabbed my rope and they said, you come on down. I said, nope. I said, I'm going back up to finish. I said, I'm finishing this tree. And why did I say that? Because I thought if I hit the ground, I might not climb again. Like it might throw me off. I'd be like, you know what? Get back on that horse, do your job, just focus and take it down a notch. And then we did. Finished tree fine. And later, you know what the fun part about it is my best friends on the job site there, they started making fun of me after that. They started to say, like, I'd like be somewhere and they'd be like, I'm all right. I'm all right.
I almost died. I almost caught a tree.
Ass. I said, I did that for you. I was worried about you. I said, I was stupid. I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
if you're hearing this, Wayne, you know you punked me out like that. It wasn't cool. I still got animosity about that.
I'm gonna do that every time.
But yeah, that was
call you now.
that was yeah.
How you doing, man? I'm all right.
Oh man, I could see where this is going.
Yeah.
I know where my friends are going next. But no, so that was my worst like close call to like really getting hurt bad on a job site.
Yeah.
No electrical line contact.
Yes.
jolts?
Yes, but it was a very not a very big experience. I guess it was still could have been a big mistake, but the scenario was I was climbing or working in an aerial lift actually in a pear tree, like a Bradford pear, calorie pear, and I went to cut something with a handsaw and I grabbed it and it was fine. I started to cut it and then I pulled it a little bit and I must have pulled the tips into it and I felt it.
Big whip.
So I felt just a little jolt in my arm, but nowhere else. Like it made my hand feel kind of funny. And I was like, whoa. I said, how did that happen? I'm in a bucket truck. I'm isolated. I'm insulated, but grabbed that branch and somehow the path went somewhere. I don't know where it went through my hand only. So I must have had the entrance go here and the exit go somewhere wherever my elbow was touching a leaf, maybe. I don't know. That was a close call, I guess, but no injury, not a big shock, but that was probably, another one that I learned from and said, don't ever do that again.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
Safe.
I'm completely shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. I see what you did there. That's pun, Pun, Davey. You got to pay extra for that. Yeah, but that's it for me, honestly. It's kind of boring. I didn't really have a lot of
I man. I wanted to hear some gnarly,
Well, I had
crazy-
my right arm got ripped off in a tree climbing accident one time. They sewed it back on. And, it was
But
a
I'm
big
all right. I'm all right.
no big deal.
All right.
That's a 50 Cent thing. I know that quote. That's from 50 Cent. Shot my leg, I walk with a limp. I might.
But all right. Yeah.
What about you, Jared?
Yeah, I mean, I have my two big ones. I have all the little scrapes
Two
and
biggies,
bumps
huh?
and big swings and branch breakouts.
Oh,
and, stuff like that, and just bumps and bruises. Nothing. Haven't had any real big mess ups too. Like no trees going on houses or cranes going over. I've been pretty fortunate to stay good on that end. Like the biggest two, or I wouldn't call them flukes. One was just being stupid as a kid. I climbed a 30-foot ladder up this red oak. I got up there and I was going to footlock. My dad's like, just use the ladder. It's right there. There was a ladder in the yard. Just crawl up there and then go tie in, and I already had a throw line set. I had my climbing line set. So I was like, we were fighting back and forth. I'm like, whatever. So like a dummy, I don't even tie my system on. I just start marching up because I'm pissed. I just wanted a footlock, and he was telling me what to do, and I don't like that. I start climbing up the ladder. I get up there and I take a step on a branch and I go to grab my two ropes. And you guys know, if you grab one side, it ain't gonna work. Well, I only got one side of it, and then I slipped. At that point, I just pulled myself and I went
Right to the ground.
right to the ground. I remember hitting the branches, and then all of a sudden I was literally landed on my feet, dead on straight, and then luckily I didn't break my ankles.
Mm.
And it just took me and whiplashed me backwards into the flare of the trunk, and then it pushed my helmet forward and split the back of my head open. And I remember instantly I stood up as quick as I possibly could. I looked around and then I was out on the ground. And then they took me down the street. I was literally like a mile from where I was born, the hospital. So they went in there, they got me stapled up, and I went back and I freaking destroyed that tree because I was pissed. I was like,
I can understand.
I'm going to
that.
footlock.
Your dad was right, by the way.
Yeah.
You did it wrong.
I did it wrong.
Don't listen to Gary.
That was my young one. I was pretty young when I did that. And I was just being young and stupid and arrogant. I should have just listened and done it right, But the other one was kind of a fluke. It was this dead tree. It was a dead live oak. And this tree's died in a year. I mean, it literally died overnight. And it was very, very dead. And I know this because this was a client of mine. So we go out there, and it's on a road in between two driveways, high voltage, low voltage. So no way to get access with equipment, crane, lift truck, on a slope. So, I've climbed dead trees my entire life. I'm like, this is a piece of cake. I'll have this thing down in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So put a line up there, did a little pull test, make sure it was good. You guys were all good. I wasn't supposed to climb that morning. It was supposed to be my groundsman, or my not groundsman, number 2 climber that I was bringing up, and I was giving him experience. So that morning I made a change of plans. I'm like, listen, dude, I'm going to go get started this morning. You go dump the trucks and then meet us on site. So we get going. I get up there and I'm popping stuff, clearing, and my first thought was get rid of the hazards, the potential hazards, get everything high voltage, low voltage, tuck all those in, and then I'll work the stuff over the garden, over the fence. Well, I'm getting ready for this long, like 30, 40-foot limb walk. Before I go out on it, I'm looking up at the top, and I'm tied into like, 4-6 inches, a dead top. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go blow that top out real quick. It's like 50 pounds, but I'm like, maybe I'll feel better doing a big lateral limb walk on it, And I remember I was on it in akimbo when I first came out. And I go up there, I do everything to the T. Double tie-in, boom, boom, stack, nice little notch, put my saw away, hand saw, take the back, and I flip it over the high voltage lines, right? Clear it. All good. Everybody on the ground screaming at me. They're like, hey, I'm looking around thinking, like, what's everybody screaming at? They could see the tree going over.
Shut up, you fools.
I couldn't tell. I was just standing up there.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, and I was like, oh shit. So first thing, dude, look down, check my gear, sucked up my lanyard. And then my brain was just so focused on the fall and thinking in my head, this is seriously how I'm going to die? Like this? Out of all of it? Like this is how?
Little dead tree?
I've done thousands of these, and that's all I could think about. So I think for a lot of people watching, it was like, oh man, I'm going to disconnect and I'm going to do a flip and end up in the pool or on the house. Man,
Triple Lindy off the backboard.
Yeah. I mean, if you have that mindset that you can break away, it didn't work like that. Yeah. This was the fastest, slowest thing that's ever happened to me. This was like in slow motion, but it happened so quick. I can't even explain it. It was so weird. But the crash to the ground, the lower limb basically took the impact, smashed the fence, ended up in the garden, and I landed about 3-4 feet off the ground. Like a koala bear upside down. And I stood up, unclipped, and I walked
Tree's
out.
done, guys. Didn't even take an hour. How do you like that?
Yeah. No.
Clean it up.
They're all like, what?
I was shaking, man. Everybody's free. I patted myself down. There's no injury. I went in the truck. I sat in the truck the rest of the day, and I called some people, and it was just like,
I hear you.
Fuck. But, super blessed to still be, standing with 2 big falls like that. Most people don't come back from that. So.
I remember the whole tree fell over with us in it 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Building a tree for it, and the whole tree just fell over. That was fun.
That's a tree saying, fuck you. You build a house.
You going to build a fort here? Nuh-uh. Not in my house. Boosh. That's a crazy story. Actually, I had a friend, Bob.
I was literally gonna be like,
why you got to throw last names out here? You might be Bob. I'm sorry, man. I'm not running right yet. No, he had a tree go over while he was in it, and it was going over like you said, kind of slow. It just started to uproot, and he bailed.
Mm-hmm.
He just wasn't tied in. He wasn't tied in with lanyard yet, and he just bailed. And he was just trying to race it to the ground. He said he got to the ground, and it was I forget what type of tree it was. Shoot, I can't remember now. But when he got to the ground, he was going to try to unclip because it was still moving, and it was moving away from him. But when this tree fell over, it actually pulled him. When the top whipped, his tie-in point whipped, and he pulled him like through all the branches at like 100 miles an hour. He was just like hyperspace through this tree.
Yeah.
And but he lucky he didn't get hurt bad and
impaled. Yeah.
Yeah. But he told me about that story. I was like, dang, I didn't even think of that. That's pretty wild story.
Oh man.
You got to tell him about the other time.
No, this isn't the Bob show. I'm not gonna tell. What time are you talking about? He's got a lot of stories too, man. That guy's a beast.
When he pulled one tree into the other tree, but he told his climber to stay up there so he could de-rig it.
I don't know about all that stuff, man. He's got some stories though, but fun stuff, man. He's one of my best friends too. He's a great guy. You guys know him. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's not doing tree work anymore, but it's probably a good thing. he was like he was the guy who you wanted
every single
you
time.
wanted him on your crew because he would knock stuff out of the park. He would take a tree down and destroy it, and you're like, damn, that was fast and just a beast of a guy.
Yeah.
Super strong physical dude, but one of the best people like to have on your side. Just a great guy.
Yeah, just so you could tell stories.
But he
about
pushed
him
limits.
20
He
years
pushed
later.
limits. You push limits. You know, if you're a groundbreaker, and he was a groundbreaker, he tried stuff he never saw anyone else do and just came up with ideas. And sometimes they work, and other times you're like, oh, wow, that didn't hold like I thought it would.
Yeah.
And I broke the whole tree out. Sorry.
Yeah, he would think that a 40-inch oak would hold up a 36-inch oak. It's bigger, right?
I don't know
should
that
work.
story, but yeah, he's done some stuff, you know. Hey, I've done some stuff too, and I was just like, holy crap, I can't believe that held.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's things, I mean, we did it.
Oh, yeah.
We did some rigging jobs. When literally I get done, I hit the ground, and we just start laughing at each other because we're like, I can't believe nothing broke, like the rope, the pulley, the tree. We were just rigging because I don't know, you know, especially if I'm in a bucket truck, it's a dirty thing.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not nice to my gear when I'm in a bucket truck.
Yeah.
I literally have taken 130-foot tulip trees in half, one cut.
Yeah.
Because the bucket truck will reach 70, that's where I'm cutting it.
Yeah.
And it's like literally a half a tree. And it hits the ground because there's rope stretch. Even with the GRCS, you get enough rope stretch with that much weight that it's brushing the tree on the ground. But honestly, you know, I got to say this because anybody's listening, there's no real risk. The risk was, okay, if this goes over and it breaks, the rope breaks, it's going to land in the yard. I'm going to mess up the lawns.
Right.
Sorry. Or maybe a septic tank. There's nobody on the ground.
No big deal. Septic tank.
It's really sorry. It's not a big deal. You can get a porta john for a couple of weeks. It'll be fine. But that's the risk. The other risk is the whole tree breaks out, right? The breaks off at the base. How far can it go? Well, okay, no one's in that radius. That's it. That's all I got. Maybe I would hit my bucket truck, but it went the opposite way.
Right.
But I mean, I didn't take risks like that, but I learned from it. Like that's what taught me to do. It taught me how to know where the limit was.
Right.
Because it put me in a position where I could take those risks where I thought they'd work. I watched them work, and then I'm like, now when I'm climbing or I'm in a dead tree or a hazard tree, I'm like, I watched a cut like that, no problem. So now I'm going to take it in half because I know there's a little bit more risk. I don't need to go that big, but I know what I could do.
Right.
And it just taught me how to move through with confidence and trees that maybe I wouldn't have been.
I can't help but think of when you said risk. You know, I was working with you that time I came out, and you took me on this job, and he's like, yeah, we got to cut down all these trees in this yards over here. And I'm like, in everybody's yard, their front yard? He's like, yeah, like, he's like, that person over there, he came out with a gun last time. Watch out.
Oh,
I'm not cutting that fucking tree down. I'm like, I'm not cutting that tree. I'll drag the brush. I will shag your brush.
That was for a line clearance company. So when you work for line clearance people, you got to know, like, you're not working for the homeowner, the tree owner. You're working for the line company, and they have rights to keep their corridor the way they want based on how it's written, and the homeowner has rights too. But the rights, if there's no right to not take the tree down, you got to take tree down.
Yep.
And yeah,
I'm talking beautiful house, big green grass. I mean, that's like out here in California, that's like, I can't believe you guys got away with that. But I'll tell you, this tree was well far away from the lines.
yeah. But it was a 500 kV line, and corridor width was whatever. And they're like,
Only
this
tree.
is inside the corridor. We're taking it out now before it gets bigger.
Only mature tree in this front person's yard.
Yeah, that's the
Gone.
long and short of it. And to be honest with you, to be fair to the power company, they are governed by rules by the government. And ever since this big blackout that happened, they have these rules in place where basically they have to do it. Because if there's an outage caused by a tree on corridor, they're fined like crazy amounts.
Right.
Like $1 million a day, for example.
Yeah.
So they have to maintain anything that's on corridor, especially if there's an off corridor like tree that falls into the lines, it's not so bad. They don't get fined for that.
Yeah.
It's out of their control, but they have to maintain their corridors, and that's
No, it makes sense.
So when you know that, it makes it easier because I don't like taking down trees that I don't think have to come down. But when there's rules, and you don't have a choice. So you either do it or
only
not.
Margaret's tree in their front yard.
I know
He's had
it's a sad thing, honestly, because it's like it was a nice tree. There was really nothing really wrong with the tree per se. No risk except it could hit the lines. It's on corridor or whatever. It's going to grow big enough. I don't know.
Right. In 20 years.
But the guy did come out. He did come out with a gun down across the street. Came out with a gun last time I was there because he didn't want the trees cut down, and we were doing more removals there, backyard trees. And he said, "I'm going to go get my gun." And I said, "You don't need to do that. I don't really want to cut your trees down anyway." And I was like, "You don't need to do that." And he's like, "I'll be right back." I said, "I'm going to go call the state police."
Yeah.
I'll be right back too. And I went back to my truck. I called the police. Police came out, and eventually they worked it out where the guy said, "You're not cutting them down." The power company rep was there, and he's like, "Yes, I am. And this is the rules. I have the easement rights." Showed the police officer. He's like, "I got no choice here." He's like, "Do what you got to do." He says, "But don't talk about any." We didn't tell him about the weapons.
Right.
But he's like, don't threaten these guys, because he was kind of threatening us.
Right.
But he's like, "Don't threaten these guys.
Yeah.
They're just doing their job. These are the rights. This is what you got to get."
Yeah.
He's like, "If you don't like it, sue him." And he could have if it was wrong.
Right. All right, you guys, we're getting to that point. We're going to start wrapping up here. But before we end every podcast, I'm going to go around the table here, and you guys just share some wisdom with our viewers here. Just one thing you can give to them out of all the experience, all the years. And Robert, we'll start with you.
He's like, "Why me?" Look at the face. Let me turn this around.
Because you got like 100 of them in there.
Why me? Jeez. Come on, Robert.
Should like rob.
Talk to your people.
Yeah. Plan your work your plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Simple.
Yeah.
There's many pearls of wisdom that have been passed on through the years, and many programs which I've adhered to through the years. But I think one of the first lessons I learned was from Richard Alvarez, and it was a lesson we learned in the Tree Trimmers Jamboree, which was to educate, demonstrate, participate, test, and document. And I've pretty much lived my life by those words of wisdom passed on to me by one of the founders of the Tree Trimmers Jamboree. So remember, educate, demonstrate, participate, test, and document.
It's good. Some good words right there. All right.
That's an academy thing, you know.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, Brian.
Something that I've come up with over the years is work smarter and harder.
You jerk. That's my saying. Everybody out there knows it. You've ever seen my workshops? Yeah, he's right there.
Yeah.
Go on.
No. I'm joking. Before
He's joking. That was stupid.
well, no, that's actually Mark saying
that's why
he says that a lot.
Busting my.
I would say find guys find people to work with that push you as well. Work with people, even if it's on the weekends, or we've been talking about the comps and stuff like that, and how that might extend your knowledge. But I would say work with guys that push your limits, because that's the only way that, if you continue to do that throughout your career, it's limitless on your ability and where it could take you. Like Mark talked about, we travel all over the world as instructors, and as I'm watching these past foremen fall out of trees and cut themselves when I was 2 or 3 years into this industry, I would have never thought that we're doing workshops and training people that go to over in Italy and in Norway and stuff like that. So it's amazing what this industry can do for you. But the only way that you're going to do that is putting yourself out there to learn from other people. And stay humble.
Good words.
Words to live by. Yeah.
All right, Mark. You got
6
you
seconds.
got
Mark.
6 minutes. You got 6 minutes for this one.
No, I'm not doing 6 minutes of this.
6 hours.
Yeah, but I mean, I think obviously the industry for me needs to be professional and safe at all times. Professional because we get a bad rap, bad image. People associate what we do with what they see on the TV that our amateurs are doing, and they're calling them tree experts or tree people, arborists, all those tree climbers. They're not. Most of the accidents you've seen are not. And there are some, obviously, but they're not the people who are trained and skilled and passionate and involved. You're going to have accidents, but not like that mostly. So I think in order to stay safe, Robert said it, you got to stay a student for life, basically. You got to participate. You got to network. You got to listen to other people. You got to be open-minded and like take that stuff in. You go to workshops. Be involved. I still go to workshops to this day. It doesn't matter what it's on. I still want to hear it. If I learn one thing that makes me smarter, safer, you know, I said it earlier. If I look back in time at my career and I think about like what I did when I was the world champion my first time, arguably in one day I was the best climber in the world from the people who were participating, right? And I look at that guy now in hindsight and I realize how much better I am to this day. Like sitting here, like literally twice that age now, and I can do more work than that guy. I can outclimb him. I have a better attitude. I know more. I can help trees. I can help my colleagues so much better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the message is to participate. So get involved, stay involved. Don't sit there and, you know, act like it's not going to help you. It will serve you. You know, serving other people serves you. There's no better feeling in my world than doing something for someone to realize, and they say it really helped them. It changed their life. When someone gives me a message and they're so passionate now, and they're like, you pumped me up. You did this for me. I'm like glowing for days. I have thank you cards I keep on my desk. Reminders here, reminders there. Why? Because people don't want to hear it. You know it. Traveling around and doing this stuff takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time out of your life. There's other people who are sacrificing for you, family, friends, business, work, pets, whatever it is. It's got to make sense. And when you get those messages, as little as somebody just coming up to you and thanking you, you showed them one technique that lit them up and makes them want to go out and be better or do something more. It just hits your heart. And you're like, that's why I take 4 flights to go to California, get stuck in Chicago overnight on ice, and I'm not mad about it. And, you know, I missed 2 days of work that I shouldn't have because I got late. You know what I mean? It's not fun to do some of that stuff. But the big picture is when I'm done with it, I'm glad I did it.
Get passion.
You know, I can't say it. So for me, it's participate. It's get involved, stay involved. And I would also say, to Brian's point, think about who you are around. If you're not happy doing what you do, it might not be what you're doing. It might be who you're doing it with or for.
Right.
And that's a big part. So one thing I've learned from mentors, I'm pointing at these guys because they were my mentors too. I mean, I got a bunch of them, but one thing I learned from mentors is the least hard thing I can do for anyone around me is make them enjoy their day better when they're working with me or for me. That's the least thing I can do. It's what I should do every day. So what do I mean by that? Well, guys come to work in the morning, shoulders slouched, whatever. I ask them, hey, how's it going? I could see they got something on their mind or whatever. And they say, oh, it's going to be 98 degrees today. And they're like defeated already. What do? I say to them something stupid like, really? I thought it was going to be over 100. And they're like, look at me. I'm like, yeah, the hotter the better.
Yeah.
I love it. And I don't mean it, but I don't want them to feel so bad about it. You know what? When I start joking about it and I tell them and they think I really mean it, 98 doesn't seem so bad anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe Mark's right. Maybe it is
mindset.
better. Or, you know, like jobs. You're on a job site with somebody and I got this one job in my mind. I tell this story and I'm standing in a cedar swamp clearing a new pathway for a corridor. They're going to put new power lines in. And there's no way to do it but to get in the water and hand cut fall trees and then winch them ashore and get them out of the water because you're not allowed to leave them in the water. And cedar groves or cedar swamps, they're built like the trunks come out of the water like this and the ground feels good and then there's a hole.
Right.
And then the water is maybe 6 foot deep. So you're trying to navigate these mounds and then you step in a spot and you slip off and now you're up to your waist in water. And it's not fun. It's hard to walk in. It's like exhausting. It's painful, all this. And I'm ripping these trees down. I got one guy in there doing it with me, and my father's in the machine on the shore at this time, and we're winching these trees. We send everyone else home because there's only a half-hour work left, and we didn't want to do overtime for these guys. So my dad's like, we'll just stay here and do it because it's an hour drive. It's a half-hour work. Do the math. I'm like, yeah, makes sense. The guy I'm with, bitching in my ear. He's next to me cutting not far from me, and he looks over and he starts getting me. I said, I thought he got hurt. I look, he just stepped in a hole like I did. Yeah. And he's crying about it. And he's like, why am I the only guy that ever has to do the shitty jobs? And I looked over and I said, are you talking to yourself? I said, I think I'm standing right next to you doing the exact same job with you.
Right.
I said, and that guy over there is the owner of the company doing this job with you.
Yeah.
I said, are you the only one that does the shitty jobs? I said to him, I said, you know what, the only thing that makes this job more shitty for me, I said, is doing it with you.
Yeah.
Get over there. I don't want to see or hear from you the rest of this thing. Like, go home. 'Cause I'm going to destroy you in this cedar swamp. I'm going to bury you in here. Like, you're driving me nuts.
Go home, Bob.
So I realized, Robert Phillips, go home. Get away from me. No, it wasn't Robert.
Come on,
He never
man, be
complained.
nice.
But so I learned, like, your attitude and how you, like, what you give off to people around you really affect that. You should pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're a crew leader, you're an owner, you're whatever. You could be brand new to a company. When the person shows up who's smiling and happy every day, everybody wants to work with them. Everybody. If you have a good attitude, there's nowhere you can't go. You know, I mean, obviously there's other things you got to do too. You got to learn things and whatever. But if you have a good attitude, you're like, it's such a good, it's a blessing. So
Yeah.
You can work
Be a
and
good-
have fun, but you can't have fun and work.
Robert,
Oh, man. Well, hey, you guys, that was some great words of wisdom. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys once again for being here on Two Tree Guys. It's freaking awesome. You guys, really appreciate you. And you guys watching, just remember, you know, pay it forward, share this. I think people would love to hear you guys' story. So
Cue
on
the
that
music.
note, see you
Cue
guys.
the music.
yeah. Thank you guys. Stay classy.
Thank you.